Welcome to my October makes vlog. How is it October already? It's really scary how quickly this year has gone, but it's cold and getting darker in the evening, so it's definitely well and truly autumn or fall, and dare I say it, please don't hate me, it's nearly Christmas, which I love because I love Christmas. I'd quite happily start listening to Christmas songs right now, but I realised that lots of other people don't feel like that, so I won't mention it again. Anyway, today I want to show you my makes, so what I made in September actually. So I've just said October makes vlog, but it's not, is it? It's my September makes that I'm showing you in October. Anywho, it's been a busy month this month, so I've made 3 of the things that I said I was going to in my plans video. I'm sorry it's not all 5, but it got to a point where I was cutting it really fine to record this and get everything done. And I really don't want to get to the point where I am just making things for the sake of making things and filming them. I would rather spend more time talking to you in a little bit more detail about the things that I have made than rushing through. And also, I don't want to fill my wardrobe with things and stress myself out just for doing these vlogs, because although I love talking to you guys, I think that I can add more value in other ways and make the videos more interesting in other ways. So if I don't get time to do everything that I say, I'm not going to beat myself up. But I have got 3 makes to show you and I am really happy with them. So I will get on and show you those. I think one of the things that I wanted to say today, full disclosure, I often find that makes go swimmingly and you watch vlogs and videos and everyone says, yeah, I made this and it went really well and yeah, lovely pattern. This month, this is pretty much almost solely down to me, but this month I seem to have a complete nightmare with the things that I tried to make or did make, and I'm going to talk you through some of those little challenges and some of the silly things that I did so that you can laugh at my ridiculous mistakes, and also if it helps any of you feel like actually we all have times where things that should be simple aren't, then I hope that excuse me, I hope that sharing that with you will help too. So I'm going to dive straight in because I've got the 3 makes to show you, and then I've also got a couple of other very exciting things I want to talk about. So without further ado, you can probably tell that I am wearing my first make. So this is my Tilly the Buttons Coco dress from the Anchor print Ponte. Again, I showed you in the makes video. I'm afraid that this has now all gone. Sorry guys, I've got a really croaky throat today, so if I sound like I've been gargling gravel, I haven't, but you might have to bear with me. Yeah, so sorry, this has now all gone, but we do have some other lovely Pontes that would be perfect for the Coco. In fact, we've got loads of Pontes in at the moment which would be perfect for the Coco, so I will link them down below. I wanted to do something a little bit different with the Coco because it's such a simple pattern and I've made it a couple of times and I just thought it'd be a good opportunity to mix it up a little bit. So inspired by the lovely Abby from Crafty Pinup, if you haven't heard of her, I will link her vlog and blog down below, but she did a ruffle sleeve version of the Coco, and I thought I would give that a go because I thought it would just be something a little bit different. And also on this one I have added a neckband. So on the Coco pattern, it's a very simple knit pattern. I'll pop a picture up here. It just has either a funnel neck option or you turn and stitch normally, and I would use a double needle, or you can do a zigzag stitch. But I have to say I don't really like the turn and stitch neckline that much, so I will often add a neckband, and that's what I've done here. And I'm hoping you can see that actually I've used a double needle, and it is red. I'm not sure if you can see that, but I thought that the red top stitching would be a nice contrast to the blue and add to the nautical theme. Kick the chair. So I will stand back and show you the dress. So ta-da! There's not a huge amount to say about it. As I say, it is a very simple, straightforward knit dress. There's the top stitch, and then yeah, I just added these ruffle sleeves. Now it took me quite a while to work out where to have the ruffles, because they were coming down quite low, and I felt that they hit me at my widest point, and I definitely do not need anything else, anything else to add bulk. So the ruffles had to come off a couple of times while I was adjusting the length, and even when I chopped quite a few inches off of the arm so that they came to the elbow, they were still coming in at the wrong length. So that took a bit of playing about with. I would recommend that you don't do what I do and just eyeball it, and actually just measure where you want them to go and how long you want them to be. Obviously it's down to personal choice, but for me, having them, as I say, hit my natural waist was the best option. I felt it looked a little bit more flattering. Sorry guys, the battery just went, so if the frame has changed ever so slightly, that's why. So yes, as I was saying, the ruffles. So the Coco, as I've said, is a really simple pattern. So you would think that having made lots of knit garments and lots of garments in general over the years, that it would be quite difficult for me to muck it up and make mistakes. But you would be wrong, because I had such a faff with this, and it's nothing to do with the pattern. It just, do you ever have those days where even the simplest of things that you do, you just get wrong? Just where you feel really clumsy. Dare I say, I think it might be linked to tiredness and hormones at times. Well, personally for me anyway. But we had a lovely sewing day here in the shop, and some of the lovely Satisfaction blogger team came down, and me and Susie were here, and we had just a really, really lovely day sewing. I didn't get a huge amount of actual sewing done myself because I was very easily distracted, and I hadn't actually had time to pre-cut my patterns and things like that. So at the end of the day, when the other ladies had left, I decided that I would cut out a quick Coco, which was this, and whip it up, because normally I can do it in less than an hour. Oh dearie me. So first of all, as I say, the ruffles were all at the wrong length. It just wasn't very flattering, so I thought, fine, I'm gonna pack it away, call it a day, and I will finish it up the next day. What then happened was I had to unpick everything because it was all overlocked. So unpicking, overlocking is great fun. Takes about 3 years, and yeah, try not to do that if you don't have to. But so I did that, I thought that's fine. I did it sat on the sofa trying to relax, so great. Went and started to sew it again, sewed on another cuff, sewed on one of the cuffs, all fine, length's fine, sewed on the second cuff. Then realised that I had sewn, or it's easier if I show you on here, the second cuff onto the first cuff. So instead of sewing it onto the other sleeve, I had sewn cuff to cuff. How is that even possible? I don't know. So at that point, I was almost ready to throw it out the window. Again, purely my fault, not the pattern. I think I was asleep sewing. But anyway, I unpicked it all again, because again, I run it straight up on the overlocker, and it was fine. So that was okay. And then the neckband I did have to unpick and redo because the first time I put it on it was a little bit too wide and I didn't really like how it looked. It sat upright a little bit, so I just unpicked it and narrowed it down. There isn't a neckband piece obviously with the pattern, but what I did was I just sort of eyeballed it and did a little bit of trial and error. Normally make it about 10 to 20% smaller than the neck opening, depending on the amount of stretch in the fabric. But actually what I could have done and what would have been easier was to use the funnel neck piece and just make it much narrower. Yeah, I don't know why I didn't do that. That would have made life a little bit easier. But anyway, so I did that, and then to do the ruffles, Abby Crafty Pinup, who I've said I'll link down below, she's got a great tutorial of how to ruffle or do a ruffle sleeve version of the Coco, so I'll just let you go and have a look at that. I did do it slightly differently to her, so I used my machine to do the gathers by turning the tension up and lengthening the stitch length, and then instead of doing that flat, I did it so I put the sleeve piece already round so that when I hemmed it, it was hemmed in the round, because otherwise I find it's really hard to match up the edges and get a really neat finish. So that was the only difference that I did. So I sewed up the side seams and everything before I attached the ruffle sleeve, and then obviously I played around with the length, and then it's just been finished with a double needle on the sleeves, the neckband and the hem. I was thinking about adding some red pockets, but I thought that might look a little bit gimmicky and I think I'll get more wear out of it like this. Although I don't think I'll be able to wear cardigans over my ruffle sleeves, so I'm not sure how practical that will be, but I really hate long sleeves anyway. I always roll my sleeves up, but sometimes when it gets really cold I do like to have the option, so we'll see. But yeah, that's the first one. I hope that you like it. As I say, it's a really simple one, and I managed to completely muck it up about 3 times, so we all make mistakes. I'm gonna go and get switched into my next one. I'm back. So I love this dress, just to say. So this is my Tilly and the Buttons Etta dress. Picture up there, that I talked about again in my plans video, and this was from our Odette stretch cotton, which again I'm really sorry, but sadly we don't have any of this print left, but we do have lots of lovely stretch cottons. This was another lastminute.com make, so I made it especially for a wedding. I don't know if you remember, but I mentioned in the video that I was going to have only a couple of days to make it. Well, in typical fashion for me, I made it the night before the wedding, and I was actually at the point where it was so late in the day I was contemplating just wearing something else and not making a new dress, but I really wanted to use this fabric, and I know that I didn't really have any other occasions now for the rest of the year where I could get away with wearing something like this with the bold print. Oh, sorry, it's my phone. The bold print. So I think at about 8:30 in the evening, the night before the wedding, I cut it out at the shop here and then went home and sewed it up, and I have to say this is one of my favourite, possibly my favourite Tilly pattern of all time. It sews up really easily, it's got lots and lots of darts. There are a few fit changes that I would make on the next one, but to be honest, considering I didn't make a toile and I made it straight out of the packet in a rush, I'm quite pleased with it, so I'll show you. So it's quite a fitted dress. It's got darts here, it's got bust darts, waist darts on the bodice, waist darts on the skirt, and then it's also got darts at the back bodice, back skirt, and also on the back neckline. And then I've made the short sleeved version. I'll just do a little, you can see, so it comes down to sort of like midi length, I suppose. Now I made straight, I think I made the 7, which is what I normally make in Tilly's patterns because of the hip room. It is quite roomy at the waist. Now part of that is because this is a stretch cotton. Part of that is because this is a stretch cotton sateen. So with obviously the elastane in it, you get more movement. So I would probably, I don't think I would size down, but I would probably take it in a little bit more at the side seams next time. The other change I would make is, it's a little bit, can you see it's quite wide at the back? It's not too bad, but if I move my arm, you can see it is a little bit big there. So I just spent the day with my hair covering it. So the handy thing is, again, there are darts at the back. So what I might do is just take the facing off, take the darts in a little bit at the back, and take that back, the top of the back bodice in. But yeah, I really, really loved it. Considering it's got so many darts, it was actually really quick to sew. And as ever with Tilly's patterns, everything just matched up really nicely. The invisible zip went in first time. I was really pleased with it. In fact, I was in such a rush that I didn't have an invisible zip at home that was black, except for the one that I had in my day dress that I showed you in my last video. So I had to unpick the zip out of that and put it into this. But I'm really pleased that I did, because hold that thought. Sorry again guys, the phone just went, so and it was really important, so I just needed to take that. And now I can't quite remember what I was telling you about the dress, but needless to say, I really like it. It comes with a long sleeve option, or I think 3/4 length sleeve option, or cap sleeves, and the cap sleeves are self-lined. Now these look like cap sleeves, but they're actually not. I made the long sleeve version and just shortened them, because the cap sleeves come from the armpit here, and I always find, dare I say it, I'm quite busty, and I always find that you get the unsightly bulges with cap sleeves. So I made the long sleeve version and just shortened it so that I do have an under part of the sleeve there, if you can see that. And all my sleeve hems, let's see if you can see that, and the actual hem are hand stitched by hand. I'm so proud of myself. Hand stitched it by hand, because I was doing that in the morning about half an hour before we were due to leave to go to the wedding, and my hand stitching was about 3 inches apart just to get the hem up. But I have since redone it, because I do really like this dress and I wanted to make sure that I'd made the effort. So I have hand stitched everything, and really, really happy with it. The changes that I'd make, as I say, just taking it a little bit. I'd probably need to do a narrow shoulder adjustment as well, because I feel like it's just on the edge of being a bit too wide, and as I say, because of the stretch cotton, it does come up a little bit big. I can't remember if I showed you, but at the back, yeah, because I would prefer it if it was a little bit more fitted, not too much here, but just sort of at the side. And as you wear stretch cotton, it can bag out a little bit, but at the back there is a little kick pleat there, which I don't know if you can see. Ta-da! So that was a nice little feature as well. And I will pop a picture up here of me wearing it in the wild, because I think that's always nice to see it out of this room. I did wear it, I promise. But yeah, really, really pleased with that. It's got a facing, and it'd be a really easy one to do a lined version of. And I'm thinking that this would be lovely in a scuba, or maybe even for a lined sort of woolen version or more wintry version. So I've got a few things planned for the Etta pattern. I think it's a really nice basic block for a fitted dress. So thoroughly recommend that one. Ta-da! So this is my Sew Over It penny dress in our foliage canopy cotton lawn. Now, I know I've said this for every make, I'm really sorry, this one is now out of stock as well. I can get more of this one, by the way, whereas I can't of the other two. So if you do really, really like it, leave me a comment below and I will get some more in for you, or try and get some more in for you. But we do have lots of other really gorgeous cotton lawns in, which I will link down below as well, that would be perfect for this dress. Now you might already have noticed this dress isn't quite finished, so the button placket is actually pinned because I haven't put the buttons on because I couldn't decide which buttons I was going to go with, and I only finished it very late last night. I'll give you a quick twirl before I start talking about it. So yeah, I'll try not to flash you because I've got 3 pins in, although I did even colour coordinate my pins, so you've got some blue and green ones in there. So it's the penny dress. It has, it has gathered yoke at the top and the shoulder panels there. It has grown on sleeves, the button placket down to here, and then an elasticated waist with a full, ta-da! I just always feel like doing this when I'm wearing a circle skirt. Ta-da! Perfect for swishing. There's the back, and it's got a flat collar on it as well. So I didn't do a full bust adjustment, and I don't feel like I need to in terms of the fit around here, but you can just see the waist there is just riding up ever so slightly higher on the front bodice, which is obviously because it has to accommodate, I'm going to sit this side. It has to accommodate for my bust. So next time I make it, I will lengthen it at the front, just to take that into account. But I didn't make any changes to the pattern. So this is straight out of the packet. It was my first time making the penny dress as well, and I'm not going to lie guys, it was hard work. Now, I mentioned around the Coco that I have been perhaps a little bit tired when I've been I keep doing that because this lawn is just really soft and lovely. I'll put my hands on here so as not to be distracting. So I am fully prepared to hold my hands up when I make silly mistakes, but I've got to be honest, I absolutely love the dress. I'm going to make loads more of these. I love the shape, I love the style, love the finished article, but I have to say that this is one of the only Sew Over It patterns that I have made where I have actually sworn out loud multiple times because the instructions were so poor. Sorry, I really hate saying that because I love Sew Over It. I love nearly all their patterns, and I find that the fit on them is really good. Normally their instructions are really good. I haven't made a huge amount of the PDF only patterns yet, the PDF club, so I haven't read many of their instructions, and obviously they're turning them over at a really fast rate because they're doing one a month, and some of them are really lovely patterns. This one, I think they should release it as a printed pattern because it's just so lovely. But it did make me wonder whether the fact that they are going out so quickly is meaning that they can't spend as much time on the instructions, because some of them were very brief. I'm being poked in the bust by a pin. Hold on. That's better. Some of them were really confusing, and I know a lot of people had struggled with the button placket. So there was a silly mistake that I made fairly early on, which I'm going to take responsibility for. I think they could have made it clearer, but I'm probably the only person that's done this, so it probably was just me. Again, I tend to get my sewing drive late in the evening, so I don't think I even started sewing this until about 10 o'clock in the evening. But you have these pleated shoulder seams here on the front bodice and on the back bodice, and it says you join the two together, but there is which I did, but there is a word or two words in there where it says join to shoulder panel, and I sort of missed the word shoulder when I was I missed the word panel when I was reading it, so I joined the shoulders together, i.e. front bodice piece to back bodice piece, because I suppose I was getting ahead of myself and thinking it looks fairly simple, which it is. But so that meant that this shoulder panel here was missed out, and I had the front and the back joining together. Creaky chair. And obviously when I went to put my arm through it, I thought, oh, this feels a little bit tight. I just about managed to squeeze my arm through, but then when I put the facing on, which we'll come to in a minute because that was a whole different ball game, I realised that the facing was way too long. So I went back over it, and couldn't work out what I'd done. And then I suddenly noticed these two just very simple rectangular shaped pieces that were left in my pile of pattern pieces, and I'd missed them. So it was entirely my fault, so I had to unpick that and re-stitch the front and the back and everything to the shoulder panels. But that's fine, and I really like the pleating here. Obviously what they've done is, instead of having darts, they've rotated it round, and you've got pleats up here, so you've still got the shaping, which is really nice. Let's talk about the facing and the button placket. I have heard lots of people mention that obviously when it was first released there was a notch missing off of the pattern, which is the notch that goes here to show you where to fold your facing. Now they have added the notch into the pattern now, so if you download it now you will get the notch, and if you've got an old copy you can email them and ask for it, so that's great. And such is the brilliance of PDF patterns, because you can make those changes if there are any mistakes. I've got to say, even with the notch, I turned the air blue trying to get this button placket. I nearly turned the air blue again then. To go as it should. The instructions were really it literally just said something like fold the facing in, and that was it, something along those lines. Sorry if I'm doing them a disservice, but it was very basic, and it wasn't like any button placket that I've made before. I've made quite a few in a few different ways, but not like this. It is actually really nice the way it's finished, but I just felt that that particular paragraph or sentence was really brief, and it really could do with a little bit more explanation. And I know a lot of you have commented on my I did an Instagram story, and a lot of you have commented on it to say that you also struggled, or that you've seen other people that struggled. So once I did get it, it was fine because I thought, so the facing essentially becomes part of the button placket, but where you fold it, and I can understand as well, without having that notch, it would have just been such a nightmare because you wouldn't have known where to fold it. But it says to edge stitch down the seam allowance, understitch the seam allowance, which normally understitching you don't see, so that was why it was also a little bit confusing, because the understitching then actually is top stitching, because it's this bit here. It's probably not making any sense if you haven't seen the pattern, but I'm sure lots of people have said about this challenge, and Sew Over It are really good, so I'm quite sure that quite soon they will maybe add a little bit more detail into that step, or there might be a blog post or something. I will have a look and just double check if there is, because if there is I will link it down below. So that being said, after I'd sworn quite a few times, got very fed up and said I was going to go to bed and not finish it, I suddenly worked out what I was doing, and then I finished the whole thing in one go, because I just really love the pattern. I love the Sew Over It sort of styles of patterns. They just do the whole sort of dress thing really well, I think, because although it's very circle skirt is very 50s style, the shirt dress, I really hope none of my pins are causing me to gape. The shirt dress I just think is very wearable, and I'll wear this around the shop. And even though it's now autumn, and obviously this is probably more of a summer make with the short sleeves. I'm just going to wear it with cardigans and things, and we've got some lovely darker lawns in, which I think would make gorgeous versions of this. So massive thumbs up to the actual finished garment and the design. I love it, really love it, one of my favourite dresses. But if you are a beginner or even an intermediate sewer, I think you may struggle a tiny bit just because the instructions are quite scant. So if you do struggle, I'm quite sure that if you contact them over it, they will help you. And there are quite a few blog posts and things up about this button placket issue now, so go and check out some of those and they might be able to help you. I ended up looking at photos on the hashtag on Instagram just so that I could see the finished button placket close up, which some helpful Instagrammers had posted, and then that kind of helped me work out what I was doing. But yeah, really love this, and I just love this lawn. I love the sort of big bold prints, as you probably know, and I like the dark colours because I think they'll work well for autumn and winter this year with cardigans, and I think I can wear it out again next year. But yeah, the only change I would make is to just add a little bit of length in the front bodice. So I hope you liked my makes. I'm sorry that I don't have the other ones to show you, which I think were the skirts. So I'm going to aim to have the Kingfisher mustard pleated skirt for my video next week, where I will be chatting to you about my plans. But there were just a couple of other things that I wanted to talk to you about. So you may have seen already, if you follow the blog, I will link that here, or you follow me on Instagram, that I have just launched OWOP 17, which is OWOP, 1 week, 1 pattern, which is a photo challenge that was launched in, I say launched, it was the brainchild of Tilly from Tilly and the Buttons, and she started it in 2012, and then Handmade Jane picked it up in 2014, and then last year it was run by Hannah from Cinderella Sews. I'll link all of those down below and the original post so that you can see them. But it is such a great challenge, and they were happy for me to take it on this year, which is brilliant. And for those of you that don't know or haven't read the blog post, it is essentially what it says on the tin. So you wear 1 week's worth of outfits made from one pattern. So that could be, if you're a new sewer, you might have 1 or 2 skirts or 1 or 2 tops that you've made from one pattern. You could style them in different ways. If you're a more experienced sewer, you might have some of the same versions but in different fabrics. If you like a bit of pattern hacking, then you can use that same pattern and hack it into different variations. And it's just all about encouraging us to think a little bit more about our patterns, not leaving them languishing on a shelf, and getting the most out of them. There's so much creativity in the sewing community, and there's so much creativity that comes from the indie pattern scene and indie pattern designers, and actually the mainstream pattern designers as well. And I think often we buy a pattern and then it gets put on the shelf, and we make it, if we make it at all, we make it once, maybe twice, and then forget about it and go on to the next shiny new one, which is great because there are so many shiny new lovely patterns. But actually you can take a really simple or a good staple pattern and use it for so many different things. So for last year I used the Tilly and the Buttons Agnes top for my 1 week, 1 pattern, and I wore a couple of just standard versions from different fabrics. I wore a bat wing version that I'd made. I also did a colour block version where I did the sleeves, and I added a hem band, and also a couple of dress versions, all from that one pattern. So instead of having to buy 4 different patterns, I just use that one. And that's really what 1 week, 1 pattern is about. And then obviously you can document what you wear on each day. And it's starting on the 25th, so Saturday the 25th of September, and running through for 7 days until Friday the 1st of December. There'll be lots of prizes, we've got lots of sponsors on board already, and I'm going to be sharing those over the next couple of months in the run up to it. And then all you need to do is share your pictures each day during 1 week, 1 pattern week on Instagram or Facebook, and you use the hashtag owopp, OWOP 17. And I will put all of this down in the comments. But I really would love it if as many of you could get involved as possible. You don't have to sew up a whole new wardrobe, you don't have to buy loads of new patterns. As I say, it's just all about celebrating the kind of creativity within the sewing community and looking at our patterns in a little different light. But I've written a whole blog post on it that answers lots of questions. I don't know why I didn't turn that on silent earlier, I'm really sorry. That's my mum. No, that's the thing. No one exciting ever texts me. It's normally my husband. He is exciting. I love him. Or my mum, or sometimes Papa John's pizzas. Anyway, please check out the blog post on 1 week, 1 pattern, because as I say, I would really love it if lots of you would get involved, and there'll be guest posts and things like that over the coming weeks, so keep your eyes peeled for those. And then the other thing that I wanted to talk to you about was doing a little giveaway of my own, because we have hit 2,000 subscribers on here on YouTube, which is amazing. Thank you so much, considering there has been quite a significant gap in my vlogging schedule for I think a period of 4 and 6 months separately. And it's only the last sort of month or so since the shop opened that I've managed to get into a weekly vlogging schedule. I am over the moon that so many of you have stuck with me, and that we've had so many new subscribers, so thank you so much. I'm going to have a little think about what to do. So we've also just hit 3,000 followers on Instagram, so I'm probably going to do a combined giveaway where you can get an extra entry if you enter on both, and maybe on our Facebook page as well, because we've been quite busy over there too. So yeah, thank you guys for watching and for subscribing. I am really over the moon. It means a lot to me, and I love the comments, so please do leave me comments. It's really interesting reading them, and I do try and come back to as many of you as I can. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed my makes this week. Get involved in 1 week, 1 pattern, and keep your eyes peeled for next week's video. So like if you have liked this video, and subscribe to make sure that you see each weekly video and next week's one, which will have the giveaway details in. And I will see you next week. Have a great week, guys. Bye.